Obviously, everyone's been tracking XRP. Now, I've been tracking XRP for the last 2 weeks, and the reason why is because, obviously there was a big volume on it, which means we're always going to have some type of move back down to the short side. And as you know, it is easier to get people to sell than to buy. So it's nice to have little pumps and volumes in it. But I wanted to show you guys how this works. So if you're in the Discord, right, and you see something pop up in the Discord, and I want to show you here. In the Discord, you'll get an alert, right? And the alert will have a kind of like a line here, and then you see your sell signal. So here's what we have here. So what we have currently is a sell signal on the 15-minute XRP. Now, personally, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between the minutes? Well, it just gives you different opportunities, right? If you start with a 15-minute, you can do more scalping, right? That just means that every 15-minute chart gives you an ideal of a 45-minute window, right? Meaning that you're probably going to close your trade within the next 45 minutes or an hour and a half, right? As you start to go into a 30-minute trade, that gives you a further insight, right? And that's where you're more than likely you're going to be times 3. You're going to have an hour and a half here, or even 3 hours. Now, what I want to show you here is that we have a buy sign on the 30-minute, right? And the 30-minute goes up. Now, if you have your indicators, if you purchase your indicators at linktree.com/venture capitalists, and you see all these different lines. And as you can see here, we've had our buy signal go in. Our buy signal went up on the 30-minute. And then once we hit our target and we see the RSI start to bend and the volume start to decrease right here, this is where you would take your profit. Now, part of this education is basically when you see a signal, right? A lot of times, the markets are, excuse me, guys, I spent a lot of time on this chart, but a lot of times, targets are very simple because we're using leverage, right? Like long-term trading, right? The less leverage you use, then the longer you want. So meaning if you don't use a lot of leverage, then you want to go based on the 1 hour calls, right? Or the 4 hour calls, 3 or 4 hours, right? And that just gives you, a simpler idea of how things are. And then once they correspond, you can make your decision. But really what you want to do here is base yourself on profits, right? So on the 15-minute time frame, we're running a shorter play, but honestly, everything should be based on simple percentages, right? What we do is we educate how to use leverage, right? Leverage is when you do something like margins or futures, and you use something like a 10x or a 20x. And all that means is you're getting 10 times your money, or 20 times your money, or 30 times your money, or 40 times your money. So if you're getting 10 times your money, that means if a coin moves, like you see a coin right here has a 1% movement. If a coin moves 1% and you have a 10 margin on it, that means that 1% is actually 10%. Okay? So what you want to do here is, and what's called true profit is basically, true profit is where after you pay fees, exchange fees, and all the stuff out there, what you really make out of 10% is 6% profit, right? So a 10%, a 10x or 10x margin on a 1% move is a 10% move, but in reality, for every 10%, you make 6% true profit. So that means you would make 6%. Now, normally we like to trade at a level of $1,000, right? That's kind of what we teach and train. But let's say that you're doing 100. So 6% of 100 is $6. If you had 1,000, it'd be 60, right? Because it's 100 to 1,000 times 10. It's just a 10x. So instead of getting 1% or $1 on your $100 trade without leverage, 1% means you would get $1. And you would get $1 because you got 1% and you were trading $100. So a 1% move means you get $1. And that's spot trading. That's not leverage. There's nothing extra, but there's also no fees, right? It's very cheap. You're not being charged anything. Now, when you borrow a 10x or a 10 margin and you get a 1% move, in reality, that's 10. So if you had $100 and you moved 1% and you were on a 10x margin, that means you made $10 instead of $1. Now, they do take 40% of that because they lent you the money to get it. So that means that you would only get $6 out of the 10. And most people will be like, well, that's not fair. Well, without the borrowing of the 10x or the margin or the fees, that 1% move would have made you $1. But because you borrowed a 10x, you made $6. So you made 500% more money by borrowing their money. That's how simple the life is. That's how simple the logic is. And if you borrow a 20x, you just double it. That's it. So you get so instead of 6%, you would get 12% for every 1%, right? And that's why we always trade on a 10 margin or 20 margin, so that every 1% gives us 12%, right? Meaning if we're trading $1,000, 12% is basically $120. So that's $120 profit every 1%. Now, the reason why we're going over this is because we're looking to basically find a coin that averages 1 to 5%. And that way we're always getting basically we're looking for coins that average 3 to 10%. So that way a 1% or 2% move is really, really easy, which allows us to get a 12 or 24%, 12% meaning off of 1%, 24% meaning it would move 2%, right? Very simple, take the money. Now, how do you figure that out without being VC? You go into your little side candles here, and then down here you'll see this little chart line with lines in it. And when you come across, you'll see a long and a short position. So we're going to do a long position here because here we have a long buy. And let me get into why you're buying this long, right? Now, as we come along, I just want to show you kind of the difference between buys and not buys, right? So as we're coming along here, the RSI is already at the bottom here, and we get a sell signal, and the RSI is at the bottom, and we got a trend change. So this is kind of not a bad situation to get in on a short. It's not too bad. It just doesn't have a lot of bite to it because it's coming in here at 44.8 and it's closing out at 47.8. So almost a 2% move there. So that's not too shabby in this. That's why I like those coins that are set up, because even in a bad setup, meaning the RSI is already dumped down to the bottom. So there's not a lot of RSI. So the more RSI you have here, you see here, look how much room this fell down once this RSI broke. And that's going to be a signal for you in the future to start taking profits. Is when the RSI breaks down, you just close your trade out as long as you're in the winning scenario. And then you just let it ride all the way down. And then eventually you look for the indicator to show you what's next. So this sell sign already being at the bottom isn't that strong, but the good thing is that from 44.70 to 44.08, that is a 1% move. So even on a bad call or a bad trade, you still would have made your 12% if you were running the $1,000 at the 20x. But the reason why we wouldn't really trade this is because, one, the RSI is already down, meaning there's nothing there. So we would wait for the RSI to pick up. And then on this pickup here, as long as everything is still red, this is on its way down. And we have a red trend line, right? There's our trend line. And there's a sell sign. We would have got in here when it started to break down. And that's more of a 44.07. And then we would have got this jack down to here. And that would have been a way better solid little play at 44.49. Let's see what we would have made there. 43, 47. $43, $49. So 43 and a half. And 43.9. So yeah, that's 1%. 1%. But you had a good push because you were at the top of your RSI. Now going the other direction. Here's a buy signal. And you do have your trend line turning green. But the RSI is pretty much already riding up. So you would let the RSI finish out and then go back into this thing. And then what you're looking for, look at that. Look at this RSI breaking down. Now that's what you're looking for, that peak right there, right? So now this is showing a red sell sign, and then the sell sign pops in, and you're already at 44 cents, 44.08. But we'll say that you were a little late getting in, and you got in somewhere over here at 44.38, right? 44.38, right? And this is how you see about your money, right? It's very simple. You go over here and say you're doing a short position. Click the short position. Go to your entry, right? 43. Let's say we get in right there. 43.94. Now, these have percentages, right? So here's your short. The green going down means we're shorting. The red means a stop loss. Bring your stop loss, and you're going to put your stop loss always. You see how that says 0.49? That's your stop loss at 0.5%, right? Now what we want to do is we want less than 0.5%. So we're going to do 0.31. That's our stop loss. Now here is kind of cool because this will let us know you don't have to do mathematics. This will just look for the move. So we want to move from that entry point to 1%. So all we have to do is drop this down, and it says 1% here in the green, right? Click it. And then you just find that line. That just means that if you entered here at 44.95, you could go to 43.50, and that would be 1% gain. Now keep in mind, the 1% gain means times 10, right? But or per times 20. But remember, we're doing real profit, meaning 6% per 10. So 20 would be 12. So this would be a 12% gain, and all you had to do is hit this white line here, and that would have been it. And you would have got that on the first move. Now, a lot of times what we do is once that move comes in and we're still in a downward move, what we do is we allow the next candle to kind of go into its finishing mode. And what we're looking for is to extend this to 2%, right? Which would have been right in this zone here. You see how it says 198, and there you go. Bada boom, bada bing. You would have hit this. It would have hit your 2%. And the best part about that is when it hits that 2%, that's our normal trade. Remember, that's times 20, right? Or times 6. So that would be, for every 10, 6 times 2%, that would have gave you your 12. And then that extra 1% would have gave you another 12. So that's a 24% gain just following that little sell sign right in there. And that's how easy it was to make a 12% gain really quick. Really quick, really easy. And how you look at it is your 6, 12, 24% on this 2% move. 24% of $1,000 is $240. So this move literally took, when it went into effect here at 17:45, it finished here at 18. So 15 minutes, you hit your trade, and then all you do from there is you just collect your profits and you move out. That's pretty much it. And then you wait for the next trade, but it has to have a signal, right? And it has to line up. The sell signal lined up because as it went into a sell, your RSI had already been dipping. Right, here's your RSI dipping down right here. Your volume's already dipping. And as you can see, that's our easy little quick in. And then when the sell button hit, that's pretty much it. We're in our sell zone. Boom. And this is the one we were actually looking at earlier, just a second ago. Let me bring that up. There you go. So as you can see here, we entered properly. We take our 2%, we close. Now as time goes on, as you come across, here we get a buy signal, right? Now we're on the 15 minute. Now we get a buy signal. The buy signal is all the way at the top of the RSI. So that's something you don't want. So you would let that ride. And then as it begins to ride, you're also on an up push. You need literally 4 of the indicators to be in your position, meaning that you need a buy signal. Then after the buy signal, you need the RSI to be on the down slope, okay, where it can be, where it's heading back up. And then the third signal is you need the green trend line. So see how this line is red? That's a negative. When it's green, it means buy. And then on top of that, what you need is the final piece are these volume buttons actually starting to turn green. So this would be, this buy signal would pop in, meaning that get ready, you're going along pretty soon. You go along, your RSI is high, your RSI comes down, and all of a sudden, boom, trend turns green. RSI here, still going down. You're still waiting for the RSI and the volume. And then as you go along, you start to see the RSI bend, which you can see right here. It bounces off the 30, boom, hits off the 30, starts to head up. That's our cue because now we have a buy signal, a green trend signal, and we have the RSI bouncing up at the 30. And then boom, we see the under volume become the top volume. And that's our enter at 43.44. Now, to make sure that we're going to get our 1% and our 2% targets, we're going to go right down here to this little sign. We're going to go to long position and just put that in where you're getting in, which would this sign right here at 43.48. And then at that point, you just basically go up here, touch your little cross so that you can move things around. So the first thing we're going to do is move this to 1%, right? So you see how that ratio is, and here's your percentages up here. We're going to go to 1%, meaning that we need to get to this line right here, which is 43.94. So I'm going to put that in for a target, and then I'm going for my 2%, which is 44.37. And then once I hit that, I'm pretty much riding up to the top. Now, how do you get the max out of your trade, right? Well, the goal is that once you get your 1% move, right, you have your stop loss. Okay, once your stop loss is set, right, and you remember, here's your stop loss. You're going to set your stop loss at a simple 0.5%, right? Like right in there, you're going to set your stop loss at a 0.5%. And that's going to be 43.11. Once you hit your 1% target, right, you're going to go ahead and sell out 25% of your 25% of your initial investment, and then you're going to move your stop loss up to where you entered, right? As the coin continues to move up and you get closer and you hit the 2% window, all you do is move your stop loss up to the 1% target, and then as this coin continued to move, every percent you would have moved up 1% with your stop loss, 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 and then you would have rode this out until this reached this level here. Now this level here would have gave you 17%. Now let's take it down to the bottom of the candle, right? goodness. Let's take this over here. And I'm going to get rid of this real quick down here. And let's say that we take this down to the bottom of the candle, right? So let's say right there. Let's say that's where you take profits, right? That profit's 14%. Now, what you would do is move your stop loss up to the 13.5% or 13%, right? Which would literally be in this zone here. Once you take profit, depending on where you take profit, you would be below, you just put your stop loss below the next candle, right? You just slightly below the next candle, which would be 12.5%. And that's where you would leave it and you would allow it to keep growing. And then this would actually fall down and it would trigger out at 12.5%. Now 12.5% is a great move because that is, remember, times 10. So that's 120%, but do your 6% profit. So that's 72% on a 10% move. And on the 20x, like you're supposed to, that is literally 144% profit. And all you're doing is following the indicators on the 15-minute and getting in basically on the proper entry. So rewind this, watch it again so you understand when the entries are. And that is how you make these huge gains. Other than that, guys, good luck. God bless.